Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Hello, is that John Paul?
Yes, it is.
Hi, all the way from Melbourne. Thank you for ringing in and thank you for remembering to come on the show. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all.
One of my listeners was just sounding your praises, and I go right along with him.
Oh, awesome.
No, happy Australia Day, and thank you for the corporate stand that your company, Drake Supermarkets, has taken over this Australia Day business. We're proud of you.
Oh, thank you very much, Jeremy. It seems like such a logical stand to take. So, but not to all people, unfortunately.
No, well, sometimes it's not so much what you do that is right in business, I guess, as in anything else. It's what somebody else does that's wrong. And Caroline just brought me Lamingtons. Did you get these from Drake's? Yes? And the flags? We got the flags and the bunting from Drake's.
You're just too nice. Absolutely too nice.
It's perfectly true. I think you will notice a nice little jump in your profits and the people who come through your door, and I think the Woolworths and Coles people will notice the opposite.
Yeah, well, initially, we've definitely seen that. So from the day that our friends in the green decided to say they're not going to have Australia Day merch, we definitely have seen an increase in sales. And not only that, I think people have totally understood our customer base. It's all about choice, and we want our customers to choose whether they want to. If they don't want to buy Australia Day merch, they don't have to buy Australia Day merch. If you don't want to buy Valentine's products, you don't buy them.
No, when you think about the range of things that you could probably put under that heading of promotion, you know, the Woolworths people and the Coles, I suppose it's something along the lines of might is right. Doesn't really matter. We'll just do what we want because we're big. Well, what about Chinese New Year? I'll bet there'll be Chinese New Year stuff around.
Well, absolutely. There's I think there's a very contentious point for them, which they are trying to figure out how they work out what they can do with that. Because I do believe there is Chinese New Year merch there, point of sale material. But
what about Halloween? I mean,
well, Jeremy, where do you stop? Where
they stop at Australia Day. They stop at Australia Day, which is crazy stuff.
For me, when I heard Brad's CEO from Woolworths explanation saying it's a low-volume products that we don't make money on, I thought it was quite ironic considering they made $1.6 billion profit, and you're picking on a date that's contentious to some people, but the majority of Australians, we want a day to celebrate Australia Day. And if that's not the date, then choose a date that is, because if you throw in a public holiday, I'm sure 95% of the Australians will be on board by having a date we can feel proud to buy our flags and wear our T-shirts and wear our thongs. That's what it's all about. Yeah. And I think they've missed that.
I agree with you. Either badly advised or just a piece of bad judgment. The thing I suppose I resent is that so much of the Australia Day merchandise is not made in Australia, but in fact made in China.
Yep, it's true.
And that's a policy thing. I think that's a Labor policy thing. It goes back a long, long way, and the unions let them get away with that, where we lost all our manufacturing capacity.
I think, Jeremy, you're exactly right. It is a bit scary when you actually do go through the supermarket and see what is made in China. Let's talk about it's practically everything, whether it's containers, whether it's lids, whether it's triggers that go in pump packs, whether it's any bit of variety that we do have. A lot of it actually is. So that's not that different. What would be fantastic if we could bring an Australia Day merch component next year? So that would be something that was a little bit different. But
is it possible?
I think it would be extremely difficult to get the volume that definitely that Drake's need, and definitely what Coles and Woolworths need.
But what a promotion, though! What a promotion for you if you launch that and work on it. I think everybody in the media would get behind you. I'd be amazed if they didn't.
Well, we're definitely talking about it. We haven't, we're just thinking how we can do things better, and there's no doubt the customers are supporting us in the direction that we're going, and we really need to make sure we can have as much choice for them as possible, so they can choose what they want to do. It's as a retailer, it's not up to me to dictate what my customers buy. And that is what's been happening for many, many years now. And we've made a stance to listen to what our customers are saying. And because our exec team, we're actually on the shop floor. We're talking to our customers. We're talking to our team. So we have an understanding of what's really going on out there. And they want merchandise. They want the opportunity to choose what they want to buy, whether it's Halloween, whether it's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, Christmas. These are all relatively small promotions in the scheme of things of how many groceries we sell. So we need to make sure as a retailer we're giving them that choice. So when they come into our stores, there is that option to buy them. And if you don't want to buy them, that's fine. Just walk past it.
But isn't it strange that we buy all of this stuff and we've become dependent on a supply chain from China, as you say, for just about everything. And the reason for their prosperity is the coal and the cheap energy with which they can produce or outproduce the world, and yet the penny doesn't drop for this stupid government. We are allowed to export our coal so they can become more wealthy, but we can't use our coal for our benefit because we're going to affect the environment. Now, it's bizarre, isn't it?
It's absolutely crazy. The thing that I just learnt recently, because I wanted to do a little bit of research, is that China has over 2,000 coal mines going right now.
Yep.
Over 2,000. So here we are, and we talk about South Australia closing down one. And we're worried about what our impact is on the climate. We've really got to realise that we've gone so green in South Australia and Australia that electricity is now my biggest expense. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a lie. It's just under wages. So we've turned a switch on that every single person in the country is paying for because we're trying to be so green. Now, common sense seems to have gone out of the door. I'm not a political person, Jeremy, so I'm not playing a political side, but it just looks like common sense.
Yeah, but
now we're all paying for it.
The logic of it is that we are part of the world. It doesn't much matter what little old Australia does. Now, if we turned off every light and we stopped every internal combustion engine, it would make absolutely no difference to global warming or climate change, yet we would be in serious trouble as a group of people. And we send all the coal off to China. What do they think in Canberra the Chinese are going to do with the coal? You know, they're going to use it. They're going to burn it, and it's going into the atmosphere.
I know, but I'm just a simple retailer.
I think you keep out of it. Let me stick my neck out. It's all right. Now, you've done a wonderful job. You've done a wonderful job to point out what a patriotic Australian company can do with a bit of common sense.
Thank you.
How's your father, by the way?
He's fantastic. I think he's liking what he's seeing, what's going on. But as he keeps on saying, I'm just a humble grocer, Job. Or you do all the talking. And make sure you don't get us in jail. And no. I'm happy to support, but he's still flat out. He doesn't feel he works a day in his life. He's just loving it.
How old is he now?
He's only young. He's 75.
Oh, that's only a kid. That's all right.
Yeah. As I've learned, the closer I've got to 50 is actually quite young now.
Well, that's true. What I loved about Caroline says, thank you, best Lamingtons, very moist.
Yeah, they are.
I haven't had one
They are
yet.
the best.
I haven't had one yet. I like the way Barry Humphries used to say when people asked him how old he was. He would say, I'm approaching 70 from the wrong direction.
Oh, that's quite good. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, well, when he was 80, you see. It made sense. You're over watching the tennis, are you? Now, there's another woke organisation for you.
Oh, unbelievable. I think, yes, I am. I got a supplier has shouted me and my wife a ticket for Australia Day, so we'll be celebrating it. Hopefully, I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the stands because I can't imagine they'll be able to keep the Aussies quiet. So I will be very interested to see what goes on. But making these statements about not being able to celebrate Australia Day, and the CEO of Woolworths couldn't actually say Australia Day in how he's it's
God.
A joke, and
it is terrible. It's a bad joke.
Yeah.
It
feels like a nightmare, Jeremy.
No, a question without notice.
Yep.
John Paul. It's an interesting name. You're not named after John Paul Jones, by the way, are you?
No, actually, you'll like this story. Dad was into his snow skiing, and I was named after a professional snow skier in the time called Jean-Paul Keely. And that's how I got my name. So sort of suits me, actually, a daredevil skier.
No, I like the sound of it. All right, thank you so much for interrupting your day, and happy Australia Day, and thanks for all you and your father and your staff are doing for Australia Day.
Thank you very much, Jeremy, and have a happy Australia Day, however you choose to celebrate it.
I love the way you think. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
John Paul Drake, ladies and gentlemen. John Paul Jones, I don't know if you know the story about John Paul Jones, but he was an American captain. He was a naval man, and his ship was called Richard or something. Anyway, he was in the War of Independence against the UK. And his ship wasn't exactly, it was sort of kind of like a second-hand ship. It wasn't terribly good at being a warship. Anyway, the Brits, they fired their guns and their cannons, and they just shot the bejesus out of him. And there he was, standing on the bridge of his ship, which was in flames, and the English admiral, with his blowhorn, said, "Do you surrender?" And John Paul Jones, as I say, standing on a wreck that was about to sink, he said, "No, we have not yet begun to fight." And that simple statement has echoed itself around history forever and a day. I have not yet begun to fight. Well, the Yanks ultimately won that war. And they did it with the sort of chutzpah that you see in a man like John Paul Jones and also John Paul Drake.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.